Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial video. Today I'm going to show you how I would set up a brand new project on the Octatrack to use it with the Digitone and the Digitakt together. I'm using the program change method. That means I'm not sending any nodes to the Digitone or Digitakt. I'll just keep them in sync and structure the projects accordingly. So first thing we're going to do is create a new project. Create empty project, give it some meaningful name, and it's also a good idea to name them in sequence so you know which projects on these three machines belong together. Alright, so we got an empty project. The first thing I do usually is I select channel 6, double tap it, go back and then select through, go to track 7, back and through, and I set track 7 to input C and D on the back, that is the Digitakt, that means percussion, and track 6 I listen to A and B, increase the volume to the max, and then I need to place trigger in record mode on each channel, so as soon as the sequence here starts, the inputs are activated. So right now we don't hear anything, but if I trigger them manually, I can hear there's the connections there, the root tracks are open. And now the next step is to go into the project settings, down to control, over to audio, and here on the first window we can choose between normal and master. When you put it in master mode, you cannot load any samples on this track, but you can use the effect section to apply an effect to everything that runs in and out of the Octatrack. So that's a perfect spot for a compressor. So we double tap FX1 and find our compressor effect, and then I usually use a very conservative glue compression setting with attack about 25, a bit longer release, threshold about 80 to 70, and then some makeup gain not more than 8 or 10. And be very careful with the gain setting. Don't just crank it up like this. It becomes very loud and could probably damage your equipment or your ears, or both. Okay, so now we are pretty much done. The next step is the MIDI synchronization. So we hold down function and press MIDI, and then we can choose 3 different types of information that are then synchronized or sent out of the Octatrack to connected devices. So I send transport, clock, and program change messages. Transport means that when you press play, sequencers on the connected devices will also start playing. And clock, of course, syncs the tempo to our other machines. And program change, and that is just for the Elektron boxes like Digitakt and Digitone. And here, setting below, I choose which channel I want to send this program change message. On Octatrack and Digitakt and Digitone, a program basically is a pattern. On a synthesizer, a program would mean like a preset. Okay, so now on the Digitakt, we just create a new project. Settings, project, load project, create new. So first thing I do on a brand new project on a Digitakt is go into the settings menu, MIDI config, sync, and clock receive is enabled by default. And now we also enable proc change receive. And then we go to the channels, and by default the Octatrack occupies 8 MIDI channels plus auto channel and FX channel. I don't want any of that because I'm not planning to talk to these channels directly. I will just use the sequencer from here, so I don't need to occupy these numbers. So, and the fastest way to turn off a channel is just to hold down the left cursor key and wait until it says off. Now the second last option here is prog change in channel, and that is the channel number where it will be listening for program change messages. The Octatrack, we set it to 16, so we have to set it here as well to 16, and that's basically it. Now when I start playing on the Octatrack, the Digitakt is starting, the tempo is synchronized, and when I change now to pattern 2 on the Octatrack, it immediately starts changing to A2 on the next iteration. So I can program something. Alright, and that's the basic setup, and this is also the settings that I did here. It's the same on the Digitone. So now we have this on 16. Everything is set and ready to go, and I think now I could switch to the MIDI side of things. There we can see we can use all 8 channels, nothing is occupied here. We choose an empty track, double tap source, and then we get into the MIDI note setup. And it asks for channel, bank and program. Bank and program is a standard protocol with basically every MIDI machine, and if it supports presets in one way or another, this menu should allow you to select the patch remotely. Okay, let's set it to number 10, which is the novation peak. Confirm that with yes. As I said, I can also change the program. Right now it's patch 2. I double tap again, and I would change the program to, let's say, I don't know, 8. You can see it's changed to 8 right away. So let's play some notes and see if it works. Okay. Now we can add another sound module like the TB03. Double tap source. 9 is the channel of this device. We can add some more percussion here. Another cool thing that you can do with the Octatrack is actually enhance your modules if they miss an LFO, for example. Like the TB03, you can fully MIDI control everything on it, including the effect section and everything else, slide, accent, and so on. So let's go to the CC setup. So you double tap FX2, and then it will show you the CC numbers, and you can adjust it to whatever the machine that you're trying to interface understands. So I confirm this, and now I have to enable this knob by holding down function and pressing on it one time, and now I can start modifying the frequency. Okay, and now I could automate this with LFO or parameter lock or whatever. So let's use an LFO, and when you're in MIDI, the LFO parameter has different options. It no longer has FX1, FX2, it says CTL1 and CTL2. We set it up on CC5 in Control 2 setup. So it means on LFO, Control 2, CC5. Okay, so let's hear how it sounds like. Increase the depth. So it goes up and down. Increase the speed, multiplier. Okay, that sounds cool. And now I could go into production and just fill the banks. So let me zoom in on the Octatrack and explain a bit about banks and how I would use them. So each bank on the Octatrack has a part or multiple parts. When you press the part menu, you see this 1, 2, 3, and 4 parts. And you get 4 of them with every bank. And banks we can have up to 16. That means 16 times 4 different instrumentation is possible on this device in a single project. So in theory you could have easily 16 different songs. Also the sample list is 128 slots. So if you think about that, you would really fill 16 banks, and you have always to manage a set of 8 samples times 16, you will run out of slots very quickly. Kind of a limitation that works in favor of being organized. Okay, so the only thing about parts you need to know is that they're not storing your samples. The sample slot list works outside of the bank scope. That means the banks are basically just using those slots, but where they are stored and which slot they are loaded in, that is global for the entire project. So you have to be careful when picking a sample slot that you not change out the sample. Now I'm going to show you a good habit that I developed over time that makes it very easy to navigate a fully loaded project and visually associate the loaded samples with the banks. We're now currently at bank 1. When we go back to the audio part, you can see this little wavy sign in here, this wave character, displaying that this part or this track is currently empty. That is because by default, when we go into the slot list and we then press the channel button, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. It highlights the one that is used. Of course, not 6 and 7 because they are through tracks, but yeah, you get the idea. They're always mapped to the first 8 static slots. So my advice to you is to not populate them ever in a new project. It makes it so much easier when you switch to a new bank / part that you at a glance can see that these are still empty for this new bank. Because as I said, the first 8 slots are selected in a new part by default. So when you populate them, for example, it would say like drum loop 1, then you go to a new part, it will again say drum loop 1, and that could throw you off and like, do I need it now? Am I using it there? I don't know. Is it safe to change it? Probably not. And then it becomes messy. The habit that I developed is I load the samples in ranges. Bank 1 starts on slot 11. Basically this reads like bank 1, slot 1. And number 12 would be bank 1, slot 2. Bank 1, slot 3. And so on. And if I then go to bank number 2, I would start at 21. So I know bank 2, sample 1, bank 2, sample 2, and so on. In a fully project, it's very easy then to see at a glance like, okay, I'm in a 50 range, so all the samples that are in this range, they belong to bank 5 and nothing else, and I should not touch it unless I really want to change the sample for that beat. Then I'm fully aware of what I'm doing, and I know that I might mess up a track that I liked back then when I made it. So yeah, and as I said, this goes to 128, so this would be like bank 12, sample slot number 5, and yeah, so that's how I would structure it, and I highly recommend that you make it a habit. Let me demonstrate with loading a loop here. Press OK, load something here, place a trigger. Okay, and now when I go to bank number 2, you see it's empty again, just like I expected. Go back to bank 1, see, oh, there's something in it. Bank 2, oh, still free, nice. So makes it a lot easier. Now I'm on a fresh bank. I don't hear any sounds. And now I can start over again, like as if this is a brand new project. Double tap, scroll down. Now there's like 21. Okay, take this loop here. Okay, and then I would go to bank number 3. It shows me empty again. Double tap, go to 31. Again, a completely different sound. Okay, so and now when you go over this list, you can see like, oh, there's something, and there's something, and I got all these slots that following after it I can use for whatever, so there's plenty of space. Okay, now another cool thing, so let's go back to bank number 1, is our master track that I introduced at the beginning of the tutorial. And we only used FX1, but I like to use FX2 for transition and performance and real-time effects. So there's a couple you can choose from. Of course, every effect that you desire can be used, but I'm going to show you the delay control to make those stutter effects and so on, and some kind of cool tricks with that. So the basic setup for that is track 8 FX2 is on delay. Then you increase send by just going from 0 to 1. Feedback all the way up, time all the way up. Double tap the FX2 slot, disable tape and enable lock. Okay, now when we play back, not much has changed, but the delay is now in a locked mode. Now we have the hold down function and the up key, and then we get into the trick overlay mode, and we scroll down to delay control. And now when we leave the record mode, you can see all these buttons become lit. That means track 1 to 8 all have a delay that is controllable. Basically shows you which track has a delay, and then you could choose which one you want to modify on the screen. But of course we want to just use number 8 here that we have set to lock. And you can see the time, we increased it to maximum, and that's why those are highlighted here. It's basically beat divisions. And I like to start at the maximum when I hold it down, because those in-between divisions, they can become kind of sketchy most of the time, unless you really time it right. So this is the beat division. You can also select it before activating the delay or during the delay. Let me demonstrate. And loop. Now I can decrease the division. Or as I said, I can work the other way around. I can hold it right from the start. Okay, another cool thing is that since it's a locked loop, it will resample itself over and over. And when you apply a filter on the delay, that's the base and width at the bottom here. For example, let me put this to 50. And now I just hold it down. Since it's looping over and over, the filter is reapplied on every loop. So again. And of course this also works with high pass, so you can like fade it away. that's something you could do. And of course, if you don't want to play with that live, you could also use any standard effect, like for example filter. Hold on the scene button and then parameter lock the effect. With some effects, like for example reverb, you want to cut out the percussion, and that is of course our through track number 7 here with the Digitakt. Hold down the scene button as well and just set the level to min. Drums will be muted. Alright, that's it for now. I hope you liked the tutorial and learned a few things. If you have any more questions, just leave me a comment, leave a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.